2026 has been an absolutely stacked year for 2D action platformers. We've got games with insane movement tech, games that'll make you rage quit and come crawling back for more, and games with art styles so good you'll screenshot every single frame. A Sister's Journey. Sometimes the smallest indie devs create the most heartfelt worlds, and this one is a perfect example. Solo developer Florian Lackner has crafted a hand-drawn pixel art platformer that hits you right in the feels before you've even picked up a weapon. You play as Violet, desperately searching for her missing sister Rena, who vanished right before a long-awaited reunion, and things only get stranger and darker from there. But don't let the emotional setup fool you, because this game does not hold back. We're talking heavy run-and-gun combat, brutal boss fights, and platforming sections that will genuinely test your reflexes. Every zone feels handcrafted with love, packed with secrets, chests, and unlockable abilities to build out your own combat style. The atmosphere walks that perfect line between charming and unsettling, pulling you deeper into its mystery. Bushiden. If you grew up loving Ninja Gaiden and Strider, Pixel Arc Studios has built something that scratches that exact same itch. You play as Rayleigh, the last surviving member of the Iga Ryu clan, thrown back into action when the long-defeated villain Gao rises from the dead with a full cybernetic army. And to make things personal, he's taken your sister along with him. What follows is a blistering fusion of retro ninja action and modern exploration, spread across 8 non-linear levels packed with secrets, hidden paths, and brutal boss encounters. Combat here is all about staying aggressive. Rayleigh dishes out satisfying 3-hit combos, capped off with flashy finishers that let you slice enemies in front, above, or behind you, keeping you safe even when you're surrounded. Every boss you take down hands you new mobility and combat powers, so the game constantly rewards you for exploring instead of rushing. Sealed Bite Extended. This is one of those games that pulls you in with a fairy tale hook and then quietly turns into a genuinely tense survival story. You play as Amelia, whose family starts disappearing one by one under mysterious, almost magical circumstances. Desperate for answers, she sets off across a beautifully eerie world, but salvation comes at a cost, because the only guide willing to help her is an ancient wolf spirit demanding she feed a growing, monstrous power inside her. Structurally, this is a fairy tale flavored platformer, taking you through gorgeous, moody, pixel art biomes, vibrant autumn forests, frozen mountain peaks, haunted caves, and looming castles, all while Amelia's abilities and memories slowly return piece by piece. Movement feels fluid and satisfying. Exploration is genuinely rewarding, and the bosses do not mess around. Clockwork Ambrosia. 14 years in development, and you can feel every single one of them in the best possible way. Clockwork Ambrosia is a steampunk 2D platformer from Realmsoft that puts weapon building front and center, and it absolutely delivers on that promise. You play as Iris, an airship pilot and engineer whose vacation goes horribly wrong when a mechanical dragon shoots her out of the sky, stranding her on the mysterious island of Aspida, where the population has vanished and been replaced by hostile robots and monsters. Instead of relying on a fixed arsenal, Iris gets to build her own guns using over 100 rule-based mods, letting you craft everything from shot splitters to precision sniper setups and devastating missile barrages. Combat feels fast, satisfying, and genuinely customizable. This isn't just cosmetic. Your build actually changes how you play. Dark Scrolls. From the studio behind Gato Roboto and Gunbrella comes something that shouldn't work on paper, but absolutely does in practice. Dark Scrolls, from Doinksoft, takes classic platformer movement and slams it into shmup-style bullet chaos, wrapping the whole thing in roguelite progression and a killer sense of humor. This is a self-proclaimed dungeon scroller, where the screen constantly pushes you forward through handcrafted rooms packed with dense enemy patterns, hidden secrets, and branching paths, forcing split-second decisions instead of slow, methodical dungeon crawling. Choose from 9 wildly different heroes, each with unique skills, quests, and customizable trinkets. Then hack, slash, dodge, and throw your way through axes, arrows, magical orbs, and projectile storms. Solo runs can feel a little repetitive, but bring a friend and the whole thing transforms into an addictive, chaotic gameplay that's hard to put down. Future Night fuses the nostalgic aesthetic of old handheld LCD games, like Game & Watch, with brutal modern combat, and the result is unlike anything else. It's May 23rd, 1993, and a cult leader called the Lady of the Past has just wiped humanity's memory as an unfortunate side effect of doing her laundry. You play as Future Night, a robot built over 30 years from the remains of a 90s soap opera actor, teamed up with 2 more, a benign, inexplicably powerful tumor living inside him, with a mind of its own. You've got 8 hours, 8 biomes, and 1 mission. Travel back through this cult leader's schedule hour by hour, switching between Future Knight's brute strength and 2 more's slimy agility to build lethal combat choreography against grotesque bosses. The art style is unsettling in the best way, blending cute and horrifying, all rendered in this gorgeous liquid crystal ink pixel style. Heart of Mycelium. Solo devs continue to prove they can go toe-to-toe with the biggest studios in this genre, and Melvin Bentinger's Heart of Mycelium is a shining example. You play as an anthropomorphic mushroom serving as a fungal undertaker, assigned with maintaining the balance of nature in a decaying world. That means every king and queen of these lands is actively hunting you down. It wears its Hollow Knight influences proudly, but it carves out a unique identity through its fungal theming and gorgeous 8 and 16-bit inspired pixel art. Movement is where this game really shines. Dashing into pots for extra air jumps, wall jumping off surfaces and enemies alike, all woven directly into the combat itself. You'll gain powers by attuning to different mushrooms you collect along the way, borrowing the explosive punch of a puffball or the toxicity of a fly agaric to mix and match combat styles. Holy Grail for Dummies. Sometimes you just need a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and this one nails that energy from the title alone. Holy Grail for Dummies follows Buckethead, a once legendary hero who's very much past his prime, waking up in a bizarre future world that has seen much better days. Forced to adapt to a society that's moved on without him, Buckethead gets roped into one last mission by a group of adventurers. Retrieve the Holy Grail and stop yet another impending global crisis. Classic reluctant hero setup, but the execution is what makes this shine. You'll run, jump, fight monsters, and collect treasures across an absurd, colorful world stuffed with eccentric characters and hilarious situations. But don't mistake the comedy for shallowness. The story surprisingly dives into some heavy, emotional themes as Buckethead wrestles with what's left of his humanity along the way. Nullstar Solus. If you love precision platformers that live and die by shaving milliseconds off your best time, this one's going to consume your life. You're a Corposcav drone pilot sent into the orbit of a decaying megastructure to salvage fragments of a nullstar, a near-infinite energy source so volatile it can wipe out entire planets if it goes critical. In the distant future, megacorporations don't wait for a world to fully die before they send in scavengers to pick apart its bones, and that's exactly the mission you're on. The gameplay hook is fresh. Your drone thrusts in any direction, and mastering the flight path system, selectively cutting thrusters and air braking into corners, is the difference between a mediocre time and a leaderboard-topping run. Across 100 tightly designed levels, you'll navigate ancient security systems and environmental hazards while racing the clock, all wrapped in a dark sci-fi soundtrack. Timespinner 2, Unwoven Dream. Lunar Ray Games returns with a sequel, and this time, we're following a new hero, Aurea, a retired warrior who thought her fighting days were behind her. When the catastrophic Unwoven Dream begins stirring, and her own son runs off to prove himself the prophesied hero who can stop the collapse of reality, Aurea strapped her orbs of crystallized magic back on, and sets out to protect her family, uncovering deep truths about her own role in the coming cataclysm along the way. way. The adventure takes you across the interconnected realm of Surfland, eerie woodlands, the ominous Tower of the Apocalypse, dark underwater depths, and the dreamlike Domain of Dreams, all rendered in that same lovingly detailed, nostalgic pixel art the series is known for. Taking place after the events of the first game, you'll run into familiar faces alongside plenty of new ones, all while exploring, fighting, and unlocking new abilities in true 90s-inspired platformer fashion. Gurei. If you crave games that trust you to make hard decisions and then punish you brutally when you get them wrong, Gurei is calling your name. From debut Brazilian studio Lobo Sagaz, this hand-drawn boss rush action game strips its genre down to pure essentials. No filler, no grinding, just you, your sword, and 11 mystical nature deities called kami waiting to be defeated in a surreal castle suspended between worlds. You play as Rei, a human spirit, and the order you fight the kami in actually changes the game. Every boss you defeat makes the remaining ones stronger, meaning the exact same enemy could be a gentle opening fight or a nightmare final boss, depending entirely on your route. Combat is precise, hand-drawn, and gorgeous, evoking Japanese samurai films with its striking black and white palette and readable, telegraphed movesets. Each victory grants you a transformative new ability, stronger dashes, execution moves, healing, expanding your combat toolkit in meaningful ways. TetherGeist. Every once in a while, a precision platformer comes along and gets compared to Celeste right out of the gate, and TetherGeist absolutely earns that comparison. This is a combat-free game entirely about movement, timing, and mastery, following May, a young girl with a motor disability, preparing for a once-in-a-lifetime spiritual pilgrimage. While every other mountain shaman uses astral projection to fly freely across the land, May's spirit is tethered, so instead, she projects her axolotl companion Bao outward like a grappling hook, using that tether to swing, climb, and cross dangerous terrain the hard way. Over the course of the journey, you unlock 7 different spirit skills called Aze, each one fundamentally changing how you interact with the environment, forcing you to constantly relearn your movement logic. What makes this stand out is how thoughtfully it handles May's disability. It's directly woven into the mechanics and the emotional core of the story. The Eternal Life of Goldman. If you've ever wanted a 2D platformer that looks like it was ripped straight out of an animated storybook, Wappy Studio went completely of the rails here. Every single environment, character, and effect in this game is meticulously hand-drawn and animated frame by frame using classic techniques. No shortcuts, no procedural generation, just years of pure old-school craft. You play as Goldman, an unassuming older gentleman who arrives on a mysterious set of islands called the Archipelago with one strange mission: kill the deity, a mystical creature everyone talks about but nobody has actually seen. As you explore, you'll piece together the region's folklore and history through the inhabitants you meet, all while upgrading Goldman's trusty cane with new parts to unlock fresh abilities and access hidden corners of the world. The tone walks a fascinating line between whimsical and darkness, weaving together legends and myths into something that feels completely unlike anything else on shelves. SURA, Shattered Star. If you loved the razor-sharp tension of Katana Zero, you need to check this one out. You play as SURA, once a swordswoman of the Go dynasty who survived the war that brought her homeland under imperial rule, but was officially recorded among the dead. Now living as a mercenary, she's roped into an investigation aboard a drifting starship, uncovering forbidden human experiments tied to the very empire that took everything from her. The combat system here is brilliant. You wield a single sword, and the moment you draw it, every strike becomes a lethal execution. But sheathing it is your chance to reposition and prepare your next devastating attack. Mastering that draw and sheath rhythm while chaining fluid platforming, dashes, and precise strikes is where the real satisfaction lives. Okko The Exiled. If you've ever wanted a platformer where launching enemies into the air feels less like a mechanic and more like an art form, Okko The Exiled has you covered. After 1,000 years of concealment, Okko finally emerges wielding the mighty Fang, ready to march through Kutala, a spreading land of demons, and take down its lords one by one, all in pursuit of the demon lord Yalda himself and a bigger mission to reconnect Okko's isolated world with the heavens. Combat is where this one really flexes, with a full toolkit of launch, stomp, bounce, shoot, and deflect moves that let you juggle enemies and chain together satisfying combos. There's also a focus mode that lets you consume heart energy to time your attacks perfectly, dishing out bonus damage and cracking enemy shields. Between fights, you'll return to the Old Throne, a cozy respite hub where you can chat with a colorful cast of characters, fill up on food, buy gear, and slowly uncover the deeper secrets hiding beneath it. Neva Prologue tells the story fans always wanted, exactly how swordswoman Alba and her wolf companion first crossed paths. Chasing a trail of white butterflies deep into a corrupted swamp, Alba stumbles upon a frightened, lost wolf cub, and what follows is the tender, difficult process of earning that cub's trust as the two navigate a blighted wilderness together, dodging dark, corrupted enemies and one genuinely intense new boss encounter. Because Neva is too young to fight alongside you here, much of the journey involves cradling her in your arms while running and platforming through hand-drawn environments soaked in eerie fog, white rain, and shifting light between sun and moon. Platforms and enemies literally blink in and out of existence, forcing a rhythmic precision that ramps the difficulty beyond even the base game's toughest stretches. It's short, clocking in around 60 to 90 minutes, and it won't reinvent what made the original so special, but it doesn't need to. Radiant Starlets, from Toronto studio Buster Time Buster, is an HD 2D action platformer that wears its Mega Man inspiration proudly, but bolts on a dating sim twist that completely changes how you'll want to play it. You control Dream, the only perfect companion robot ever built, reactivated in a bleak future on the brink of collapse and immediately hunted by the Starlets, an idol-like group determined to claim him as their own. Your permanent power supply has been shattered into 8 pieces, each held by a different Starlet boss. And just like the classic Mega Man formula, you choose your own stage order across 8 action-packed levels filled with traps, enemies, and tough boss fights. Each Starlet also comes with her own dating minigame you can tackle between missions, whether it's motorcycle duels with former racer Deneka or rhythm challenges with DJ Nianali. Every romantic route unlocks a custom armor set, a unique charge shot, and a distinct ending, giving the game serious replay value for speedrunners and completionists alike. Fallen Tier, The Ascension, from Philippines-based Winter Crew Studios, puts you in the shoes of Hira, a mysterious child fated to stand against ancient gods in the high fantasy, crumbling world of Rawa. What sets this platformer apart from the pack is its fated bonds system. Instead of just finding gadgets or new abilities scattered across the map, you form relationships with companions, each granting distinct combat and traversal powers that fundamentally change how you fight and explore. It's a system with real spiritual DNA to Castlevania, but wrapped in JRPG-style emotional storytelling and full professional voice acting that gives every bond authentic weight. Visually, this game is a showstopper. Traditional hand-drawn animation brings Rawa's lush forests, lost cities, and forgotten ruins to life across 10+ interconnected regions, packed with 6 main bosses, 3 optional bosses, and skill-based combat that rewards precise slashing, parrying, and dodging. Eden's Guardian. There's something irresistible about a platformer that opens with a myth this good. A god falling in love with a mortal, bearing children with divine powers, and those powers eventually curdling into corruption. That's exactly the foundation Voragine Game Studio builds Eden's Guardian on. You play as one of the original Guardians, imprisoned centuries ago for trying to stop her fellow demigods from chasing dark power at the cost of their sanity. After finally breaking free, she discovers the beautiful world world she once knew is now crumbling under a mysterious curse, and it's up to her to set things right. The star of the show is an inventive traversal and combat tool. You can throw your sword and nail it into surfaces, then teleport directly to it, letting you ambush enemies, cross huge gaps, and reach areas that would otherwise be inaccessible. The handcrafted pixel art is gorgeous, painting a devastated medieval fantasy world dripping with atmosphere and deep, intertwined lore about gods and humans that you'll have to piece together yourself. PlatyGuard, Swarm Slayer. From developer Chili Room, the studio behind games inspired by genre giants like Dead Cells, comes something with a name that's honestly impossible to forget. PlatyGuard, Swarm Slayer, drops you into a grimy, biopunk, post-apocalyptic wasteland where mutant insects, corporate conspiracies, and collapsing bunkers are just another Tuesday. You'll choose from over a dozen unique PlatyGuards, each with a completely different combat identity. Some are precise samurai-style parry and counter fighters, others brawl with brutal close-range combos, while some play zippier dodge and shoot styles. Combat is all about spotting enemy weaknesses, timing your parries and dodges perfectly, and shattering defenses to chain together satisfying finishing blows. Build crafting with hundreds of skills, items, and wild synergies at your disposal, you can stack together summoned armies, magic barrages, and lightning storms into absurd builds. Across 7 vast stages, you'll face 50+ enemy types, elite monsters, and menacing bosses, all while slowly uncovering the dark truth behind the mysterious hive scourge that reshaped this world. Necrofugitive. For fans of Prototype who always wished someone would remix that power fantasy into a 2D pixel art package, Black Garden Studios has answered the call. Necrofugitive puts you in the role of the Prisoner, a shape-shifting cultist devoted to Skoraz, the eldritch god of chaos, and the sole survivor after a brutal witch-hunting massacre wipes out the rest of your cult. Severely weakened and hunted by an entire kingdom, you're Skoraz's last hope for revenge. Set in the medieval realm of Avencia, a land torn apart by civil war, famine, and superstition, this is a 2D stealth action game where sneaking, fighting, and shape-shifting all blend together into one satisfying power fantasy. You can quietly infiltrate enemy ranks by taking on other forms, or go loud and unleash devastating combat abilities when things go sideways. And when you're truly cornered, the Prisoner's ultimate ability, Unleash, transforms you into a monstrous creature capable of tearing entire armies apart. Mariachi Legends. From Halberd Studios, the team behind 9 Years of Shadows, comes a platformer soaked head to toe in Mexican folklore and absolutely gorgeous pixel art. Mariachi Legends drops you into the town of Santa Mascota, playing as Detective Pablo Cruz, a man determined to avenge his family and take down the violent crime syndicate encroaching on his hometown. To do it, he strikes a desperate deal with Death herself, Madre Katrina, who grants him the power to transform into La Sombra, a supernatural vigilante with brutal, fast-paced combat abilities. In exchange, Pablo must hunt down and deliver the one soul who's always eluded Death's grasp, a man who defied her and became immortal. What follows is a dark, cinematic story exploring life, death, family bonds, and cultural roots, blending classic Castlevania-style gameplay with rich Mexican culture, music, and mythology. Combat is fast, brutal, and combo-heavy, with dash strikes, aerial rave attacks, and ground pounds that feel straight out of the golden age of arcade brawlers. Akatori. There's something satisfying about a game that takes one single tool and finds a dozen brilliant uses for it, and Akatori nails that concept gracefully. From developer Contrast Games, this action platformer with platformer-light elements follows Mako, a young monk raised in the Firebird Temple, as she journeys across 5 interconnected worlds to stop the Amber Storms, a corrupting force distorting everything it touches. Her only companion is a mysterious red phoenix spirit, sealed inside her staff, and that staff is the heart of the entire game. It's a weapon that crushes enemies, a glider for soaring across chasms, a tool for sliding down slopes, climbing walls, and triggering hidden mechanisms. Akatori doesn't hand you a dozen disconnected gadgets, it keeps finding brilliant new jobs for the one tool you're already mastering. You'll take on over 20 enemy types and several inventive bosses, including multi-phase fights, rhythm-based challenges, and underwater escape sequences. Castlevania Belmont's Curse marks the franchise's first major new release since 2014's Lords of Shadow 2, and it's coming from the incredible team behind Dead Cells, developer Evil Empire. Set in 1499 Paris, 23 years after Castlevania III Dracula's Curse, the story follows Rose Belmont, daughter of the legendary Trevor Belmont, as monstrous creatures suddenly erupt from the shadows and engulf the city in chaos. Armed with the iconic Holy Whip vampire killer, Rose battles through burning streets and the looming halls of Dracula's castle, getting swept into a dark conspiracy that runs deeper than anyone expected. The whip mechanics here look special, cracking it to swing like a trapeze artist and pounce on enemies with real fluidity and speed. Face off against legendary series bosses like Death, Medusa, and Carmilla, alongside intriguing new threats like a corrupted Joan of Arc, and once defeated, seal them into tarot cards as Arcana, unlocking spells and unique special actions. Replaced. If you've been chasing that all-time indie classic feeling ever since Limbo and Inside, Replaced might just scratch that itch. From Sad Cat Studios, this cinematic action platformer took nearly 4 years longer than planned, and every second of that effort shows on screen. You play as Reach, an artificial intelligence unwillingly trapped in the human body of its own creator, Warren Marsh, waking up in the wreckage of an office after a catastrophic system overload. Set in a nuclear winter-ravaged alternate 1980s America, you navigate the crumbling streets of Phoenix City, a corrupt stronghold controlled by the sinister Phoenix Corporation and its illegal organ trade. Combat blends fluid melee strikes with satisfying ranged gunplay, using a free-flow system where reading enemy lets you chain dodges and counters into brutal execution moves. But the real star here is the art direction. Best-in-class pixel art fused with modern 3D lighting and cinematography that genuinely rivals big-budget games. Wrapped around it all is a thoughtful story about identity, control, and what it means to be human, told through morally gray characters you'll never quite trust. And that's a wrap on this countdown. Let me know down in the comments which game you're most hyped for, or if I missed a hidden gem that deserves a spot on this list. If this video helped you find your next obsession, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll catch you in the next one.